All right, well, welcome to TMA's APC info session. We are having it's going to be a live Q&A, but I also have panelists here to talk about their experience. We've got the physician experience interacting with patients. We've got patient experience. We even have a care partner. And then we're also going to be talking about your questions that you can put in the Q&A. I'm Rachel Bromley. I'm TMA's Senior Manager of Patient Education Support and Advocacy. And joining me today is a wonderful panel of some of my favorite people. And we're just going to go around real quick. And all you need to do is say your name, your connection to TMA, and how many conferences have you participated in. So we will start with Dr. Pack.
I was like looking up and I was like, oh, I can't even count how many. But I'm so honored and pleased to be here. My name is Julie Pack. I am a rheumatologist at Johns Hopkins. I'm also the newly co-director of the Johns Hopkins Myositis Center. And I've been involved with the Myositis Association for a long time. I feel many years, indirectly, directly, but I'm also, for the past 13 years, I feel like in some ways. Recently, I think in the past couple of years, I've joined the Medical Advisory Board. And I was able to participate in the in-person patient conferences as well. So anyways, I'm really excited to be here and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much. And then Joe Sanchez.
Hi, my name's Joe Sanchez on Facebook, social media. I'm Myositis Joe. I have inclusion body myositis. I've been to 5 inpatient meetings, conferences. I'm about to attend my 6th and would be glad to share best practices and why I keep coming back.
Well, thank you so much. And then we have John and Colleen Layton. John, if you wanted to go first.
Yeah, my name is John Layton. I'm a caregiver. This will be our 6th conference that we're going to, Diego. So anyway,
and Colleen.
Be able to.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I was diagnosed in 2012 with anti-SRP necrotizing myopathy. I was very reluctant to attend a conference for the first 3 years, and I can't believe that I missed out on 3 years worth of information. I won't let it happen again. We go to every conference we can.
Yes, and I'd love to see you there. But let's start with Dr. Pack. As a physician, what's the value to patients coming to the conference as far as how do they get to interact with the physicians that are there presenting? What's that like?
Yeah, I feel like it's a much more intimate setting. And, after, there's, there's activities where you have a more social encounter, but at these little talks and informational sessions after the expert discusses what they're talking about, I met so many wonderful patients afterwards who had multiple questions, and we're just there to just answer all and every questions afterward. And it's just very free and flowing kind of conversation, not so much like, okay, you have 30 minutes and you have to give, what's your list of questions? But it's more very interactive and relaxed setting, which I really like. So that's like, I really enjoyed that aspect. There was no kind of stress because I feel like each conference is at a warm place. Like it was in Florida or like now San Diego. And so you're in just a relaxed environment. And it's like no stress, which I really like. Yeah.
So have you noticed that, I know that during our conferences, we have the Q&A that's open for everyone, but have you noticed that there are some questions that people just don't want to ask in front of the group and so they line up afterwards?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Sometimes there's like a line of people and I can tell people are waiting, but but we're there the whole weekend, so then they'll come another time. So yeah.
Right. Well, this particular conference, we increased our breaks in between the sessions.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, we actually have 30 minutes in between. We received that feedback and we made sure it happened. That way people could leisurely make it to the next session and not feel rushed, go to the restroom if they need to, which we know can take some time.
Mhm.
also. So we're excited about that part. But yes, I do notice at the conferences, we always have to wrangle up the physicians because they are so busy meeting so many wonderful people. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share about the conference? I know you can't stay for the whole webinar, so I just really wanted to kind of mine your viewpoint on what that experience is like and why you would encourage people to come.
Yeah, I was reflecting on, 13 years ago when I first, 13, 14 years ago when I first had a myositis, patient with myositis, who asked me, should I go? And in fact, I think I might have said, well, don't go if you feel it'll hurt your psyche and you're going to get more anxious or, but I think that was the wrong thing to say, because having experienced the, patient conferences directly, indirectly, I've learned myself that it was actually not a depressing kind of situation there. It was a very uplifting experience for the patient. And then you also have one-on-one interaction with these experts, the leading experts in every different manifestation of the disease that you probably will not have depending on where you live. And personally, I think I had about 10 patients make appointments with me after and more emails, and in different coasts and different places, because they're like, I don't have like someone who sees 30 myositis, 30 to 50 myositis patients a month, where I live, something like this. So I think that was the wrong thing that I said, 14 years ago. And I can tell you firsthand, it was a very uplifting kind of experience on my part.
Well, I know, and Colleen will talk about this in a little bit about the fear, because you did touch on something that is a concern for many people because they feel that maybe they're getting a glimpse of their future and they're not ready for that. But what I would like you to talk about here is about variability in the progression, because just because one person ends up this way does not necessarily mean that's your path. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yes. Myositis is very heterogeneous disease. And that's why I think the cure has still been elusive, because every patient is different. And the treatment and management needs to be tailored to that person's kind of manifestations of the disease. So I think that's why when you may see a patient, in a wheelchair, and you may see many or maybe very little, but, I think it's very variable, like you said, heterogeneous. So, and as you know, there's multiple different subgroups of the disease, and not all patients, will get to that point. However, I want to mention that the positives of the meeting were some of the patients I met, they had come early in their disease, and then they're learning about all the available new treatments and how the experts manage the disease. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even touched on the medications that these experts are talking about. I've never even prescribed these medications. So on one hand, you may see people in wheelchairs, but maybe that's because they didn't get the appropriate treatment, or maybe it's because there's no cure right now, but you're contributing to understanding and, the progress of getting to that cure. But also, you're getting access to that, state-of-the-art management and therapeutics that the leading experts in the world, actually, there are some international folks, are leading up. So I hope that's helpful.
I know that there are a lot of patients that I hear from that feel as if, and rightly so, that they know more about myositis than their doctor does because of wherever they do live. Yeah, not
right, that's
They're
true.
talking about you. Okay.
But that is true. I tell my patients, oh, you live where? There's like, my patient said they had one myositis patient in 30 years.
Yeah. And so attending these conferences is a good way for you to be the patient, to be armed with information that they can take back to that person. Because like other people have said, we can't expect every doctor to know everything about every rare disease. It's just not possible. There's too many of them,
yes.
So taking control of your recovery, your journey is just so empowering, and I'll let them talk more about that. But before you leave, was there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I don't think so. I'll stay a little bit longer, in case any questions come up. So just let me know.
Okay. And then you can put your questions in the Q&A. I wanted to remind everyone that the conference rotates. It's West, Midwest, and East, and it's always at big hotels who can accommodate enough ADA rooms. And so, well, other people are putting, instead of putting questions in Q&A, they're talking about how awesome the conference is. So this person likes that the meals are a selling point. Yes, you do get breakfast and lunch and on most days, and that information is available on the website. But I really want to talk about not those particular benefits, but how it can change your life. So let's go to Joe Sanchez. I'm going to unmute you, Joe, and let's talk. I see you on social media all the time. Just I've hit ask to unmute, so if you'll just say okay, you can unmute yourself. There you go. And you are so wonderful in posting these posts where you just rave about the conference and what you get out of it. But can you share some of those sentiments here?
Well, it's been life-changing. The very first meeting I went to was in 2014 in Reno, and my needs changed with each conference because I've been to 5 in person. I'm about to go to my 6th one. The first one was all about being lost and not knowing where I was going and nothing about the disease, and wanted to learn a bit more about the inclusion body myositis. But what I found myself when I got there, we were expecting doom and gloom. I ran into people that knew each other and that were helping each other out and that were sharing best practices. And I did not see the doom and gloom. I saw myositis patients helping myositis patients. And that first session, the first one I went to, I just sat and watched, kept my mouth shut. Yes, me, keeping my mouth shut, and learned. But what I discovered was the closeness, the bond, person to person, from meeting to meeting. And as I'm about to hit my 6th one, I'm looking forward to the 6th one because I'm going to be seeing people from 2014 and 2016 and 17 and 18. And it's a lot different than talking to someone on social media and actually seeing someone and talking to them in person. It's that special bond. My first meeting was about learning about the why me and what can I do about it. But then I discovered, and it's something unexpected, I was learning just as much from my fellow myositis patients as I was the experts, and in some cases even more. And with each conference I went to, I was coming home with at least one thing that drastically changed my outlook for the next year. And that's why I keep coming back. I keep coming back to learn from my fellow IBMers and the PMs and the DMs and NAMs. But it's the closest, the bond is the watching someone through the progression. For instance, when I went to the 2016 conference, I got a badge that I keep at my at my bedside that says, "Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do." I mean, that's it by my bedside. I wouldn't have got that or know anything about it if I didn't go to the conference. I wouldn't have met people like Jim Matthews. I wouldn't have, and other people. There's a tremendous amount of people that are now in my circle that I go out and ask for help that I met at the conference. And you can't buy that. And I think we as patients have to look at opportunity. When opportunity arises, we got to take it to improve our quality of life with our disease. And once a year, we have 400 and 500 people meeting together with experts from all around the world to share what's new, what's going on, but also to share best practices. How do you get out of the bed? How are you walking? How are you improving? How are you? Can you help me with my swallowing issues? It's amazing all the gimmicks and gadgets and hacks that people are living with it day in, day out, have on their own. And
Yeah, that is one of our most famous I say famous, I meant favorite sessions that we have is called Hints and Hacks. And basically, you know, that is the patients telling other patients and care partners telling other care partners what has worked for them, what hasn't, what's the latest tech, what's affordable, what, you know, and it just really is a great time of discovery for people. Like the last one I moderated, and I was like, well, you guys are in the room. What are you having problems with that maybe somebody else in the room has solved? And somebody raised their hand and said, I have a hard time putting on my deodorant. And, you know, 4 people had solutions for that person. So it's just, it's a great time to learn, not just from the physicians like Dr. Pack, but also from each other. It really is. So one
And don't get
moment,
me
Joe,
wrong, the
let's-
physicians have been fantastic. I've got
Yeah.
4 that I keep up with on a regular basis, and they're extremely helpful. So you build that bond too. But it's just, this is an opportunity that is life-changing. And everybody needs to go to at least one of the sessions, or they owe it to themselves and their family.
Okay, Colleen, let's start with you. And since we're talking about the patient experience, can you talk about why it took you 3 years to actually go to one of our conferences? Oh, you're muted. Let me ask you to unmute. Okay. There you go.
Hi, I think that, you know, even as I was overwhelmed by the amount of information that was out there. I wasn't sure if all of it was accurate. All of us incessantly Google, right? And now I've got this plethora of information that's either accurate or non-accurate. And I think what overwhelmed me the most was I was afraid to see people at a more advanced stage, because I said to my husband, I can deal with it, but I can't deal with thinking about what my future is going to be. I got to do it one step at a time. And I didn't realize all of the variability that there was, that there were people at all different levels of function, and everybody's journey is not the same. Everybody's experience is not the same, but it took me to get to a conference and actually meet other patients. Where else can you find a group of people that share not so much maybe a diagnosis, but challenges, and can share information on how to beat those challenges? So once I went to the first conference, I could just relax. I think when you're diagnosed, you spend a great deal of time, especially, I don't know, as a wife and a mother, you try and you know, keep your chin up and act like everything's normal. And when I got to the conference, I could just be me. I could walk funny. I could trip over my own feet. I could spill things when I ate, and like it wasn't a big deal, because other people were like, oh my gosh, that happens to me all the time. And it was like this load off, right? Because you're surrounded by people that understand what it's like. Because I think for me, a lot of the frustration sometimes feels like I don't have anybody that understands what it's like. Sometimes, you know, and
Right.
that first conference, the keynote speaker, I had been in the conference all of maybe an hour, and the keynote speaker gave me such inspiration that I could hit the rest of the conference with like this open-mindedness and this enthusiasm. And I just felt like I was in a peer group that got it. So that was.
We hear from patients a lot about how part of the reason they feel so alone and isolated is because it can often be an invisible illness. You know, I've heard Joe talk about, if you only see me for a 2-3 hour time block, I may be perfectly fine. But if I don't go home and take a nap, there's going to be a difference. Joe, you can talk a little bit about that, about feeling isolated and how going to the conference kind of decreases that isolation for you.
Yeah, it's for instance, what I do in the morning before 12 is completely different what I do in the evening. People think I'm doing extremely well with IBM, but I still have a lift chair. I still have all the problems once I get tired. There's a when rested Joe, and there's a fatigued Joe, that everything looks like IBM to the till, where it looks like I'm having a stroke. So So we all live a rested life and myositis life, but the key is a lot of us have success stories out there, and we like to share our success stories, and that's where the isolation goes away. Is you got to get out of your room, you got to meet people, you got to talk to people, you got to pick up the phone and get on the Zoom classes and interact with other people with your disease, because it's insanity to think you can sit in a room and just be frustrated and enjoy that life. You gotta get something, and you get mad. For me, I had to get mad enough to say enough's enough. I spent 9 months in this room watching TV. I'm going to learn to live life while I'm trying to live in a body trying to destroy me. And the perfect way to get started was to go into a conference. I got to study people, what they were doing, how happy they were, and then listen to people share what was working for them. Because people love sharing their tips that's working for them with other myositis patients. I mean, everything I found in a conference was positive. It was not negative, and that was a big surprise. And the other big surprise to me was how many success stories are really out there that nobody knows about because nobody sees it or talks about it. And you can only see that and experience that at a conference.
I agree.
It is so true. Go ahead, Colleen.
I totally agree. There's a feeling for me when I'm at a conference that I am truly surrounded by peers to share ideas with, to get tips from, to get hints from, hacks from, compare notes with. And it's just, I don't know how else to explain it. You just feel like you're with a solid group of peers.
And there's some of us that's been going to the conference that are actually holding our own, and we hadn't deteriorated much over a certain period of time, like maybe some others. But those people need to still go because we need to be giving hope to each other. And this is what the conference does. It not only educates, it gives hope. And hope makes a difference. Hope allows us to program ourselves that we can do better with this disease and we can improve our quality of life with this disease. And you only get that from going to a conference as far as that one-on-one. That in-person is everything.
Well, it also seems like it provides the attendees strength. You know, I can only imagine that over time, managing any chronic illness is just tiring. And you need that boost in the arm. It was what I've heard patients say, just that shot in the arm that can help you go another year, managing what you have in front of you. Let's talk a little bit about the care partner experience. John, what is it like as a care partner to attend TMA's annual patient conference?
So the first one we went to, I really didn't know what to expect. We were coming into it blind, but meeting everybody, going to the different group sessions, talking to different caregivers, you really learn a lot. The way different people deal with stuff, the way the person who has the disease deals with it, and how you can try to help each other get through the process. That also changes in different stages too, like the different conferences that we've been to. Some of the people you talk to struggling with the same thing, but just listening to them speak and talking to them, communicating with them, you learn some other things you can do, to make your partner better.
He's really popular because he can recognize instantly when somebody's struggling to get out of their chair. Many people in many of the rooms, he's like, I got this, I can help you. He just
he's a caregiver for more than one person.
Absolutely.
The ultimate caregiver. Well, I want the audience to know that John Layton is going to be on our care partner panel, where we talk about all sorts of considerations for the care partner. We have already in this webinar discussed what the patient can feel like, but a care partner can also feel very alone because it seems like the focus is on the patient all the time. And Joe, you can talk a little bit about that if you don't mind sharing about how sometimes your care partner felt as if they were always coming after you. It was like, how is Joe instead of how is Joe's wife, right?
Right. A lot of us are so focused on the patient, and I made that mistake too. I'm so focused on me that sometimes I'm forgetting about my care partner. And care partners go through myositis affects care partners and caregivers too, because they burn out. And if you don't give them the attention that they need, uh, they're going to get frustrated. And my wife and I are a good example of that. No matter how people think I'm doing well because they only see me for 2 hours, they don't see the whole picture because they are not seeing me for 8 hours. But my care partner is, and she sees
Mhm.
me struggle in the evenings, and she sees me swallowing issues. But the person that saw me at 8 to 10 this morning, going, "Wow, he's doing fantastic with the disease." But we went to lunch at 1 o'clock at a local restaurant, and I started to choke because I was talking while eating, and I got my lecture from the wife. You know better than that. You didn't cut the food up slow enough. But the thing is, you got to take care of. It's a partnership. You and your care partner, your caregiver. Uh, I call my wife my care partner, not caregiver, because everything that I do affects her, and everything she does affects me. It's a journey together down the same myositis road. It's just we both have different needs. Um, it's your care partner will burn out if you don't pay attention to your care partner. People don't understand what a care partner goes through. Their dreams and their goals and their bucket list is affected by your disease as a patient. And if you don't recognize that, you're missing out. It's a struggle
That
my
is
wife and I had
so,
to learn to work
Yep.
with, and uh, it's something that needs to be addressed more often. But
and the APC is the perfect place to address it. TMA, make sure to include care partner concerns in our programming. And we have an awesome panel that John is going to be on. We're going to talk about all sorts of things, burnout, self-care, what that looks like, boundary setting. And he has an excellent story on boundary setting, which I will not tell here. I'm saving it for the conference because it's amazing. It'll make you laugh and say, man, he's brilliant.
He is brilliant. I'm very, very fortunate, and I am guilty of some of what Joe is saying, and I understand what he's saying. I mean, sometimes I feel like I give my best to the people that I'm trying to convince that I am good and I am strong and I've got this and everything is fine, and then I come home and I unload on the primary person who's my partner and helping me
Right.
through it. So
And
I
we
did-
can have a whole webinar just on that itself. And we've covered it a couple of times, but that's what is so beautiful about the APC is that you get a chance to see the disease from each other's viewpoints.
Mhm.
And hopefully it can bring you closer and the kitty cat closer. Hello.
and Rachel, my wife
the
will be with
emotional
me at this
support.
conference.
Yes, I'm excited to meet her. That's going to be
And
good.
I've talked to her, and she's willing to talk to anybody wanting to talk about burnout, because we had that bridge to cross, and it's a fixable bridge. Um, it is,
Yeah.
but it takes two.
Yeah. Let me see what question we have or if we have a comment. Someone says, my excitement about going to the conference is actually meeting someone who can relate and be able to shake their hand. I am so excited about meeting Joe and sharing his inspiration and hope. I cannot wait to see another IBMer in person. Aw, that's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And you did not choose anonymous, so I'm going to go ahead and say who this is. This is Chip Galloway, who will also be presenting at the conference, because those of you who have come many times, remember that we used to have a session called Finding Strength Through Faith. And Chip Galloway is new to myositis and new to TMA and is just a wonderful person. And we've talked many times, and he is going to carry that torch forward, and he is presenting a session on finding strength through faith. So this is another exciting thing that we want to look at. We're not at the conference just about let's give you the education of disease type, progression, medication, blah, blah, blah. You know, you do get that from the doctor or from the web. It's more, I wouldn't say it's more about psychosocial, but it's also about psychosocial. How do you manage it? How do you stay close to your partner while you're doing it? How do you not lose each other or lose yourself? We just have so many great sessions that are there to give you strength so you can continue on. And that's what I love. Nobody asked me what I love about the conference. I'm waiting. But I'll go ahead and tell you, I love meeting the patients, and you guys are so inspiring. You're my why. You're why I come to work every day. Everybody has good and bad days, but anytime I need to pick me up, I just am on social media or watching a patient story. I'm calling somebody on the phone that just is, it amazes me that you are the person with myositis, but I can call you and you cheer me up. How does that work? But the conference is a great time to do that. So let's talk about what else did you guys, we've kind of talked about each of your experiences, but kind of what has been your favorite things, your favorite elements of the conference?
But my favorite thing is the meeting of people, and then actually going up to, I guess one of my personal favorites, I guess, is meeting the doctor on the medical advisory board. And then you meet him for the third or fourth or fifth time. And the things you learn from them each time is actually different. But you build that bond where they're willing to text back and forth with you after a while. Or when I do say I'm doing a new exercise through my exercise program, I'm actually got 4 of them that I sent a video of everything that I'm doing. These doctors on the medical board really want to learn from their patients, and we need to build a bond with them and share what's working for us, what's not working for us, because we're their information. They can't be getting everything just from the techs and drug companies. They need to be getting information from us, the people living it.
Dr. Pack, did you want to comment on that?
That is so beautiful. I would have to say, I met Joe last year, and you probably don't remember this, but we took a picture together with, and I think we posted on social media with our bunny, Mickey Mouse ears. Do you remember that?
Yeah, she had Mickey Mouse ears when I met her.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on the medical advisory board.
Yeah. But, but I totally echo those sentiments. I love my favorite was that event, you know, meeting Joe and meeting all the patients, and also the exercise event. There was like all this music, and you know, you don't have to exercise like excessively. It was just like, you know, soft movements with music. And I think that kind of bonding experience was the favorite of mine. And also, I'm a firm believer that we always have to listen to our patients, because without listening to you guys, we cannot understand the disease. And that's why I have to say this conference also inspires me to be a better physician. And so I really think it's not only for you guys, but also the physicians to remind us of why God put us here to do our work.
And I would like to say, if you're doing well and you're out there and you're going, well, I don't need to go to the conference, you're wrong. If you're doing well, or you found a secret that's working for you, you need to go to the conference and show it to the medical advisory board. Look at me, so they can learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%.
Go ahead, John.
Where else can you go when you talk to the top doctors in the world with your disease, and you can communicate? They know what you're talking about, and you know what they're talking about.
And the accessibility of those physicians. That's always been one of the most amazing parts of the conference, is they make themselves totally accessible for those 3 or 4 days. They're open to questions. If they can't answer them, I mean, multiple times, it's really busy and fast paced at certain points. I don't think I've ever had a physician that wasn't willing to say, can you come back? Can you see me? You know, can we talk at this point or that point? They make themselves very accessible. They're truly there to share information with us, and to listen to our information.
And one other perk, one thing I've learned is if you can't get in the door of of one of the doctors you want to see because there's a 1 year or 2 year waiting list, if you join their study, if they learn your name, if they've seen and meet you, it's amazing how quickly you get moved up that ladder.
I think Dr. Pack doesn't want to comment on that
No,
one.
it shouldn't be that way.
But the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the education sessions that TMA provides, because one of the things that we work really hard on, and Linda Cobart has been behind the scenes working with me on this also, was, and the MAB, how do we provide content that is going to help the newly diagnosed, but also provide content that's going to help people that have had their diagnosis for a really long time? Can either of you speak about how that has been for you going to more than one conference? Go ahead, Colleen.
Every conference I go to, and I've been a nurse for 22 years. Every conference I go to, I come home with a ton of new information. It's information, I think, that a person without a medical background can understand and take and use to improve how they're facing their disease at home, whether it be information about medications that are available, clinical trials. It's just the amount of information I've learned at each conference that's new has been incredible.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm so glad that that is the feedback that we're getting, and we try to improve that every year, and we try to make it a multi-generational focus. We try to make sure that the different types of myositis are properly represented. I do want to talk a little bit about the hesitation that some people have because of mobility issues and being scared to travel. Does anybody want to talk about their travel?
I think for us, this will be a bit of a challenge because we're on the East Coast. And the last time we were in San Diego has been a few years. And, I kind of gauge where I am by like annual events, right? Because we're people of tradition. We tend to do things the same way. And that's how I usually can tell I'm struggling. Not so much day to day, but when I try and do the same thing I did last Christmas, last Thanksgiving, last time I had to fly to San Diego. We look for a nonstop flight. For me, that's key. I cannot make a connection. I don't care how small the airport is. I have found that once you're there, you guys do a fabulous job of picking the facility. Everybody at that facility who is ready to help us, and the staff, the servers, they all know that we have certain struggles, and the staff has been amazing, and travel's hard. Travel is difficult. There's hints and hacks that you can do, but once you're there, you're going to be taken care of. You're going to have accessibility. If you're struggling with something, if you speak up to a TMA representative or a facility representative, it will be taken care of, and you'll be able to participate to the full extent, because you guys have done an amazing job at selecting facilities.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the same facility that we were at in 2017. Am I wrong? I'm not sure.
No,
It's
the same. It's the same one, and the accessibility to the airport is fabulous. I think it's literally directly across the highway from the airport.
Right, and the staff is trained to deal with this because we've been there before, and that makes a big plus.
Yes.
Well, I did want to say that we got feedback about that particular venue, and we responded to that feedback, and we are addressing it. And because we're recording this, I want everyone to know that that particular feedback had been addressed. And that was basically that the bathroom doors were too heavy to open. I don't know if that was your experience, but we had the people that were did not have myositis, and they're still like, these doors are way too heavy. So we are looking into volunteer options to be, like maybe high schoolers that need service hours that can, do a few hours of opening the doors, so we don't have that. And then also we addressed how many people are seated at the tables. So we have large tables that you can actually squeeze 12 people in, but they're set up for 6 to 8, and there will be blank spaces for wheelchairs. So, we got feedback about the breaks. Like I said, we got a feedback that it would be nice to have an attendee lounge. So if you got tired at any point, you had a place that you could sit down and just kind of regroup before your next session. And so any of the feedback that we have gotten, we have responded to, and we are very excited to have you guys come. And we're always open to more feedback and improving the experience every single time. I don't have any more questions in the Q&A. Okay, Janet says, thank you for helping me today with my questions and sharing your personal experience. I am so hopeful it will be her first conference.
Welcome.
Yay. Well, you are going to have a great time, because that favorite of Dr. Pack's is called Sit and Snacks, and it is our 30th anniversary, so we are celebrating the entire time. The theme is celebrating our myositis heroes. And I've been talking about what other people are doing at the conference. Dr. Pack has her sessions she is presenting. Colleen Layton will also be doing the conference orientation. And so, Janet, you'll want to go to that, because it'll be your first myositis conference, and it's before anything starts, before the kickoff, before the getting acquainted sessions, and you will be able to, learn how to make the most out of your conference experience. And the getting acquainted sessions are really awesome, because that's a time where straight out the gate, you get to meet other people, like Chip was talking about, that have the same diagnosis you have, and you see them in flesh and blood right there, and you make lifelong friends. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. And you're going to see people from different diagnosis groups kind of maybe having a similar struggle, and they're going to be using things that you didn't think of, and then the conversation just flows, right? Because you're all at the same conference, and it's a shared experience. So I've taken hints and hacks home from people with IBM, DM, PM, doesn't matter. Some of the struggles are similar across the board. And then it's just, the conversation just flows, because you're all there for the same reason, and that's to learn and make the most of your day to day.
And you'll also meet patients from other countries.
Yes.
Like when I was in San Diego last time, I actually met a person from Africa. And you meet people from Sweden and the UK and Mexico and the Philippines. I mean, this is an international event.
I wanted to talk about what you're doing, Joe. Why don't you talk a little bit about your plans for the conference?
Well, I'm wanting to showcase what I've been able to do since the last conference with the medical board. And I'm also wanting to try and plant seeds of hope, because there are those of us out there, and I am not the only one, that actually have been doing better than expected with their illness. And it's important to plant a seed of hope, because when I first got diagnosed in 2013, October, my physician said no physical activity of any kind, no medication, no cure, no treatment, but don't do any movement. And so my thing, when I looked at my wife and said, what am I supposed to do? Sit in the man cave, watch TV the rest of my life? And then I went to the conference and found out I spotted 3 people that were moving all the time. They were walking all the time. They were volunteering and helping all the time. And then later I found out they had IBM. And I said at my first conference, I want to be those guys. And so I started to copy and started to learn and started to look for people to inspire me. And I got that through the first session. And then the next conference I went to, I got more inspiration. And the next conference, I got more information. my goal for each conference is to come away with one thing that's going to improve my quality of life for the next year, to make this year better to make the next year better than this year. And every conference I've been to, that's happened. There's not a single conference that I did not walk away with something that helped me with my journey the next year. And so that's my
Well,
mission.
you are also going to be helping with exercise workshops. We are very excited to have Dr. Helene Alexanderson, Dr. Leslie Sackett-Koo, Dr. Malin Riegart, all there on hand, and they will have actual workshops you can sign up for, where you'll have about 10 people in a workshop. They'll have a separate IBM one. They'll have one for non-IBMers, and Joe is going to help with those. And basically that's, you talk about, it's not just talking with a physician, you're actually getting to work out with them. So it's really exciting. Thank you for doing that, Joe.
Yeah, and you'll have a fellow myositis patient actually doing the exercises to show it can be done. So
Mhm. And I think also, don't you normally walk in the mornings? I remember last
Yeah.
year you walked, and I think
That's
some people might want to join you.
right. One of the things I always do is I go on a walk at 7 a.m. in the morning, sometimes
Mhm.
6:30 in the morning. And if there's anybody out there that wants to walk with Myositis Joe, I'm going to be walking those aisles. And I found walking does, it actually gives me energy. And that's one of the things we got to learn with our diseases, what takes our energy away and what gives us energy, and focus on improving the things that give us the energy. And that's what walking does. It gets blood flow and oxygen to my muscles. And my wife says it gets me talking. So that's just a warning.
Chip says he's in. He wants to walk with you, Joe. So that's great. Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that the early bird registration ends July 21st. If you go to our website, www.myositis.org, right there at the top, or you can scan this. I don't know if my fingers can. You can scan the QR code and it'll take you to the registration page. But what's really awesome is that there is a planning your trip page. So we have things listed, what to do in the area, and then also addressing mobility. We have listings of where you can get walkers or scooters or whatever it is that you might need to help you better attend the conference. One funny thing that happened last year is I moderated the care partner session. John, were you in there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you and I, we already have a connection. So,
Yeah.
but it was so funny because one of the in the care partner session, it's always what is said in Vegas or happens in Vegas stays in
Yeah.
Vegas. I'm not attributing anybody to this, but this particular issue was that their patient was too prideful to use a cane. So that came up more than once. They were falling because they were not ready mentally to take on a cane. It just symbolized something for them. And so them seeing other men with a cane really kind of helped open their minds to the use of a cane. And so, I mean, that's one of the first things for fall prevention, right? Is use the appropriate assistive devices. So that was a really beautiful thing that came out of that session. And I also wanted to talk about mental health in general, because we do have a mental health session that's going to be for whether you have myositis or you care for someone with myositis. We understand that can, create a toll, create a weight on your heart and your mind, and contribute to fatigue just as much as progressive muscle weakness. I mean, the mental labor you guys put into managing your disease is really impressive. And we're here to help you do that in any way that you can. So
I just have one
Yeah.
quick tip, Rachel, for those those care partners that can't get their myositis patient to use a cane. My wife couldn't get me to use one forever. And so at the Louisville
it
conference,
wasn't her, Joe.
she got
It
me a
wasn't her that
baseball
said that.
bat cane. So
Oh, you got a baseball bat cane.
I have a
That made a
baseball bat
difference
cane.
for you?
And that's the difference. And now when I walk with my baseball bat cane and it actually says Myositis Warriors on it and my name on it, people come up to me and go, that's a cool cane. And I get to share and educate them on myositis awareness because they came to me because I'm walking around with a baseball bat cane. So those of you out there whose spouse is refusing to use a cane, check out the baseball bat cane. I got that at the Louisville conference.
I just want to encourage everybody. I know traveling can be hard. And if you're on the East Coast, it might seem daunting to get out there. I promise you it's worth it. If it's beyond you right now to get that far, please remember they do change locations. It will be worth the effort. I promise. You'll come home feeling energized and empowered and just lighter. Rachel made a very good point about the weight of the day-to-day managing the disease. I've never left a conference without that weight being gone and feeling lighter.
And if your
Just gave me
your fear is with endurance, I went to the conference last year and I disappeared for an hour and everybody's going, what happened to Joe? Well, Joe decided to manage his disease and listen to what his body said. So in the middle of the day, I went back to my room and I took a nap and then came down for the next session. So don't feel like you have to attend everything you booked. Listen to your body and manage your energy levels.
Yep.
You will get through it.
And I
All
think
right.
the program has really good explanations of what's in every session. So you can put some thought into it ahead of time and really plan accordingly so that you're conserving your energy to get to the sessions that are going to hold the most value for you.
Yes,
And those who follow
our
me on
agenda is
Facebook-
on the website. Go ahead, Joe.
And those who follow me on Facebook, I posted a whole list of best practices that work for me when I go to a conference. Check it out.
Dr. Pack, did you want to say any final words?
No, I think I just hope to see everybody there, and I think it's a wonderful bonding experience for everybody, physician, patient, caretaker, anybody, including the entire lovely TMA staff. So hope to see
I know,
you.
I'm pumped. I'm ready. Is it September? I'm
You guys-
right.
Amazing.
It's so much fun. It really is. And we have an amazing conference planner behind the scenes, Mary Beckton. I will go ahead and do a shout out for her. And she is an expert at what she does and has really done some great things with Rhonda and making sure that this experience is going to be the best conference ever. So we hope to see you there. All right. Thank you so much for participating in the webinar for TMA. I'm Rachel Bromley. Good night.